Before you read another word, I need you to count something. In a moment, you're going to picture a simple scene. A small room, 6 people inside it, some in white shirts, some in black. 3 of them are passing a basketball back and forth. Your only job, the only thing that matters, is to count how many times the people in white pass that ball. Picture it now. White shirts pass, black shirts pass. Count only the white ones. 6, 7, 8 passes. Keep counting. Got a number? Hold on to it. Now here's the question that actually matters. Somewhere in the middle of that scene, a person in a full gorilla costume walked directly through the center of the room, stopped, faced the camera, thumped its chest, and walked off. Did you see it? If this is your first time encountering this experiment, there's a strong chance you didn't. And that single missed gorilla is one of the most quietly unsettling discoveries in the history of psychology. Researchers Daniel Simons and Christopher Chabris ran a version of this exact experiment in 1999, using real footage instead of imagination. Participants were given the same instructions you just received. Count the passes, nothing else. When the recording finished, close to half of them reported seeing no gorilla at all. Not a blurry shape, not something they dismissed as unimportant. Nothing. As far as their conscious experience was concerned, the gorilla simply never existed. That result should bother you a little. Not because something is wrong with your brain, because something is wrong with your assumption about how your brain works. Most people walk through life assuming their eyes function like a camera, passively recording everything in front of them, ready to be reviewed later if needed. That assumption is completely wrong. Your eyes gather far more information than your conscious mind could possibly process at once. Something has to filter it, and that filter is not gentle. Psychologists Arian Mack and Irvin Rock coined a term for exactly this phenomenon: inattentional blindness. Not blindness in the eyes, blindness in attention. Their research demonstrated that when your focus narrows onto a specific task, your brain doesn't just deprioritize everything else. It can delete it from conscious awareness entirely, even when that thing is large, moving, and directly in your field of vision. Try another version of this right now, using only your immediate surroundings. Look around the room you're in and count every object that is a shade of brown. Just brown. Go. Now, without looking again, try to recall how many objects in that same room were red. Most people struggle here, not because red objects weren't visible, but because the instruction to look for brown temporarily made red almost invisible to conscious recall. Your visual system captured the light. Your attention simply never handed it off to memory. This is where the story gets stranger, because inattentional blindness isn't limited to gorillas and colors. Researcher Ronald Rensink studied a closely related effect called change blindness, where people fail to notice large, obvious differences between 2 nearly identical images, shown one after another, as long as there's a brief visual interruption between them. A building disappears, a person's shirt changes color, an entire object vanishes from a photograph, and most people, staring directly at the change, see nothing different at all. Here's the uncomfortable part. This isn't a flaw limited to careless or distracted people. It happens to focused, attentive, intelligent people performing exactly the task they were asked to perform. In fact, the more intensely you focus on one thing, the more effectively your brain suppresses everything else. Which raises the real question sitting underneath all of this. Why would evolution build a brain this aggressively selective? Why not give you a system that notices everything? Because a system that notices everything would be paralyzed by everything. Imagine an early human tracking a moving animal through dense brush, entire survival depending on not losing sight of it for even a second. A brain that gave equal attention to every rustling leaf, every shifting shadow, every unrelated movement at the edges of vision would lose the one detail that actually mattered. Selective attention isn't a limitation bolted onto an otherwise perfect system. It is the system. Filtering ruthlessly is what allowed a mind to survive a world with more information in it than any nervous system could ever fully process. The gorilla in that basketball experiment wasn't hiding. It was walking in plain sight, in full view, taking up a significant portion of the frame. Your brain simply decided, correctly according to its own internal logic, that counting white shirt passes was the priority, and everything else was noise to be discarded before it ever reached conscious thought. This is happening to you constantly, far beyond lab experiments. Drivers miss motorcycles at intersections, not because motorcycles are small, but because the driver's attention is locked on to looking for cars, and a motorcycle doesn't match the pattern being searched for. Radiologists occasionally miss anomalies on scans not from lack of skill, but because their trained attention is locked onto searching for one specific type of abnormality, and something outside that pattern can slip past entirely unseen. People walk past someone they know well without acknowledging them, not out of rudeness, but because their attention was fully consumed elsewhere and the familiar face simply didn't register. None of this means your brain is broken. It means your brain is doing exactly what brains are built to do. Making a constant, high-speed decision about what deserves conscious space and discarding the rest before you even get the chance to notice the discarding happened. So here's what actually occurred during the small experiment you ran at the start of this video. If you missed the gorilla or struggled to recall the red objects after searching for brown, you didn't fail a test of intelligence or awareness. You succeeded at exactly what your visual attention is designed to do under instruction. You gave your brain a single priority, and it protected that priority with total commitment at the cost of everything else in the frame. That's not a flaw hiding in your mind. That's the same mechanism responsible for your ability to read this sentence right now, without being distracted into uselessness by every other stimulus currently reaching your eyes and ears. Next time you miss something obvious, something everyone else swears was right in front of you, remember this test. You weren't careless. You weren't unaware. You were simply so good at focusing on what you were told mattered that your own mind decided, on your behalf and without asking permission, that everything else could wait outside the door.